Part 40. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 392. Lu Feng grabbed her hand and glanced at it. There was no calluses on the palm, and some chalk powder could be seen in the gap between the fingernails. Bai Mai Hua pursed her lips, glanced at Lu Feng quietly, and said in a low voice, "How is it?" "Forward." Lu Feng pondered. "He just wants to be a hooligan and touch your hand," the uncle next to him joked. "Humph, it's fine to steal money, but you still want to steal people, you're a bitch," someone said in a muffled voice. "It can be seen that your fate has changed this year. It is not smooth to leave the country, and it is not over yet. Your cousin may not be able to help you," Lu Feng said seriously. "Ah," Bai Mai Hua was a little confused and asked, "What should I do then?" "What does your cousin do?" "She said that she was a waiter, serving people, and she was willing to work hard to earn a lot." Lu Feng nodded slightly. "How much money can a waiter earn?" "Dongguan is just emerging now. Although some industries have not become city business cards, in big cities, such things have become more and more frequent." "How is my fortune?" Bai Mai Hua sighed and said helplessly, "I also feel that this trip is not easy. If my father needed money in the hospital, I wouldn't run out." "What happened to your father?" Lu Feng asked. "The lumbar vertebrae are not good, and overwork will make you sick," Bai Mai Hua choked up as she spoke. Lu Feng comforted a few words. The uncle and aunt on the opposite side said a few remedies. "You can go back and try it. It's already late at night, and the train is still rumbling forward. The scheduled time is after 4 o'clock. Station, it's normal for trains to be late now. I just heard from the flight attendant that it is estimated that we will arrive at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning." Although some people were trying to keep their spirits up, they couldn't bear it anymore. They leaned on their position to fight with their eyelids. Lu Feng comforted Bai Mai Hua and yawned. "The man diagonally opposite has never appeared, and it is estimated that he will not appear in this carriage again." The uncle on the opposite side stood up and said, "Young man, do you want a cigarette?" Lu Feng nodded and stood up. When he reached the link of the carriage, the uncle handed over a red plum. Lu Feng tapped and took a sip. He coughed twice and looked at the night outside the door and window. "Young man, doesn't he look like an ordinary person?" "What's not ordinary?" "There are ordinary people in the world," Lu Feng said casually. "Our money was stolen, and we don't know where to go when we got out of the car. Those who embarrass you are thieves, right?" "Yes, from the other group." "Are you another thief?" Without saying a word, Lu Feng turned his head and stared at the uncle and looked up and down. The other party was a little uncomfortable when he looked at him. He smiled and said, "My money was stolen, it's just a blind suspicion, don't take it to heart." "Uncle, what do you do?" "Doing everything on the construction site, twisting steel bars, stirring cement and ash, is just hard work." The other party was smoking a cigarette, grinning, showing a big yellow tooth. "I'll show you the palmistry too," Lu Feng said, reaching out and grabbing his hand. The middle joint of his index finger was very thick with calluses, and his middle finger also had calluses, but not so much. "Plum is about the same." The uncle stared at Lu Feng and said, "How is it?" "Uncle, you don't have much palmistry. You're going the wrong way, you shouldn't be a hard worker." Lu Feng could feel that when he mentioned the word partial door, the other party's hand trembled obviously. "Fortune-telling pays attention to Taoism, you are so young, Taoism is too shallow." The uncle took his hand back. Lu Feng leaned against the carriage and took a cigarette, stared at him and said solemnly, "This is the first time I've been a thief since I grew up." His eyes were a little puzzled, and the next moment he became sharp and shouted, as expected, "You stole the money and took my money out. This is the first time I know what a thief calls to catch a thief. I don't want to worry about other things. I will take out Bai Mai Hua's wallet." Lu Feng stared at him with burning eyes. "You said I stole money?" I'm an honest part-timer, but you actually suspect me of stealing money. But you are by no means a worker at a construction site. I have heard a little about stealing. I don't want to worry about your own affairs. It would be too unethical to steal a little girl's money, Feng said solemnly. The guy in the old leather coat has a lot of gangs. He goes to the toilet every once in a while, throws the dirt from the car through the window, and sets up points along the way, so he's not afraid of checking. How about you? The uncle's expression changed greatly, and he raised his hand towards Lu Feng's neck. Lu Feng had been on guard against him for a long time. He grabbed the cotton coat and blocked it at the neck. A thin silk thread cut through the clothes and was blocked by the cotton inside. Yo, the Eastern Invincible faction, Lu Feng said with a sneer. I've been practicing with the line for many years, except for this line, have you beat me at your age? What are you two doing? Bai Mai Hua came over and looked at the two of them. The uncle returned to an amiable smile, patted Lu Feng's clothes with his hand and said, his clothes are torn. It's a pity for the clothes I just bought, Bai Mai Hua said, and walked into the bathroom. I didn't expect you to step on this line too. I'm not a thief. You know so much, you're not a thief? That girl is your accomplice, right? Everyone depends on their abilities, don't ruin my job. I'm going to the rivers and lakes of Dongguan, throw it on the ground and go back. Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the cotton flying coat, he suddenly felt a little pain in his fingers. He took a look and found that his index finger was torn and a few drops of blood seeped out. Throwing the half-smoked cigarette on the ground, Lu Feng took out his huazi, lit it, and muttered, the money is coming so quickly, and I'm choking to death when I smoke red plum. Bai Mai Hua walked out of the bathroom, saw Lu Feng lit another one, and persuaded, you should smoke less, this is not good. I see, you. Lu Feng wanted to persuade her to stay away from the couple on the other side, and then thought again, this girl has no money on her body, what else can she be stolen from? What about that pie? What's wrong with me? I made a mistake just now. You're going to turn things around and everything will be fine. Lu Feng grabbed her hand and pretended to look at it seriously. This money of yours will be lost and found again. Really? Bai Mai Hua thought for a while and asked in a low voice, do you know who stole my money? Do not know. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. After Lu Feng finished smoking, he returned to his seat. As soon as he sat down, he found that the ant across from him was staring at him with a hostile expression on his face. The four people who were originally enthusiastic seemed to have fallen into a vacuum in an instant. No one spoke anymore, and there were snores all around. It was already late at night, and this was definitely the best time to start. Lu Feng didn't speak, he opened the suitcase and rummaged around. In front of the two of them, he threw the wallet into the suitcase, and held a fine brush knife in his hand. Cover your jacket and lean back into position to start sleeping. Lu Feng didn't sleep soundly. He knew that the train had stopped a few times, and could vaguely hear Bai Mai Hua sobbing next to him. He also felt that the two people on the opposite side had left their seats several times. When he woke up, he found that it was already gray outside. The white plum blossoms covered his coat and leaned against the window and fell asleep. The couple on the opposite side were nibbling on melon seeds. Lu Feng felt that his whole body was much better. He stood up and stretched his waist to find half of the people in the car have changed. The flight attendant came over and shouted, wake up everyone, it's the terminal station soon, Dongguan Station, pack your things, don't leave, don't fall asleep. Lu Feng asked the flight attendant, what time is it now? 6 o'clock, we'll be there in half an hour. Lu Feng glanced at his suitcase. When he slept yesterday, he put a finger's width between the two zippers. As long as someone moved it, he would definitely see it. No one moved. Bai Mai Hua woke up, her hair was a little messy, she scratched it a few times with her hands, and the city could already be seen outside. She was lying on the glass looking out, and her whole person looked extraordinarily flustered. This is an unfamiliar city, and a girl who lost her money and contact information was clueless. She really didn't know where to go after getting off the train. Turning his head to look at Lu Feng, his eyes were full of hope, expecting that the person he met in the car would speak his mind. Lu Feng gave her a reassuring look. He wanted to wash his face, but found that there was nowhere to wash his face, so he had to sit down again. The surroundings started to become noisy, and many people were talking about what life would be like in the city. Everyone has a different perspective on each city. Some people are excited and ready to go big, and some people are distressed. This city has left him too much pain, and some people are confused. Everyone is the protagonist of their own life, but too many people's plots are not so good. Compared with Lu Feng, they can't even count life, they can only count as survival. It's coming to the station now. Someone had already carried their luggage, and the inside of the carriage was in an instant mess. People in the past were carrying the luggage of life, which might be full of ups and downs, so heavy, and occasionally accidentally hit Lu Feng on the head, making him feel dizzy. Hurried to hide in the direction of white plum blossoms. I'm sorry. Before the car arrived, there was already a long queue in the corridor, and the couple on the opposite side were also holding two large packages. Lu Feng looked at them coldly and found that they had more body than when they first got on the bus yesterday. Address. However, the two packages did not decrease at all, and they were still bulging. With a screeching brake sound, it was time to stop. The crowd is crowded and everyone gets off the train and will play various roles in the society. As for the brief gathering on the train, some people have been drinking, some people have played cards, and some people chat like confidants, all of which are fleeting. The couple on the other side stood up and were about to go out. Lu Feng patted Bai Mai Hua next to him and said, "Get off." Lu Feng got out of the car following the two of them, and the two of them also felt that Lu Feng was following them, carrying a huge package, hurried forward, interspersed in the crowd. Lu Feng took Bai Mai Hua's arm all the way forward, and a bearded man behind him saw Lu Feng, waved at the man in the old leather jacket, and hurried forward. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 393. Several trains stopped at the station at the same time, and the flow of people was extremely large. Lu Feng chased after him, but he couldn't find it. All around were middle-aged men with woven bags on their backs. Standing still and looking around, but no one was found, Lu Feng looked at Bai Mai Hua and sighed helplessly. "Are you looking for uncle?" Bai Mai Hua pointed at the two people walking by. "Isn't that right?" Lu Feng looked in the direction of her fingers. The two of them strode forward with woven bags in their arms. Their faces were very relaxed, and they could see the smiles on their faces. "Why are you looking for uncle? Did they leave something behind? I'll call for you. Don't shout. You're ready to find your stuff." Lu Feng stepped forward, put his hand into his pocket, touched the fine brush knife, followed behind the uncle and took out the fine brush knife and slashed directly at the bottom of the woven bag. The fine brush knife was extraordinarily sharp, and it opened a hole. A bag fell out, and then a lot of wallets, watches, gold earrings, etc. were scattered all over the floor. This sudden scene startled the people around, and many people stopped to watch for a while. The uncle turned his head and glanced at Lu Feng. His eyes were grim, and his companion next to him gave him a hand, and the two quickly turned out. "Go. You dropped something." "Didn't I lose my wallet?" Someone started to look through their wallets and found that they had long since lost them. They picked up the wallet on the ground and it was their own. Seeing this situation, other people began to recognize their own things. Bai Mai Hua was already standing there, and this was the end. How could she not understand what happened? She just couldn't believe it. In response, he hurriedly looked for his own things, and searched for a long time without success. I didn't find it, Lu Feng asked. Bai Mai Hua shook her head, her whole person was helpless, her eyes were red with anxiety, she didn't know where to go after leaving the train station. Seeing her like this, Lu Feng couldn't leave her at the train station. He said, "Let's get out of the station first, find a place to eat and then talk about it." The two walked towards the exit. There were a lot of people around here. The police had already rushed over, as well as the beard and the old leather jacket. There was no trace of Lu Feng, but the people who witnessed everything said that he was a young man. People do ran. I can run as a monk, but I can't run away from the temple. I have never heard of this person, so I have to ask. I feel like there are a lot of people in the gang. What about more? Who have we been afraid of? Outside the train station, Lu Feng looked around and didn't see anyone who came to pick him up. There was a ramen restaurant next to him. He ordered 2 bowls of ramen and sat down and looked at the white plum blossoms opposite. The 10 hours past was like a dream. Magical. The hot face was brought up, and Lu Feng said to Bai Mai Hua, "Let's eat, do you know your cousin's address?" "I don't know," she said. "She came to call her and come to the station to pick me up." Bai Mai Hua picked up the chopsticks and said, "Thank you, it's not you, I don't even know what to do. We can be considered to share will and woe. It's your first time to take a train, and it's my first time to take a train." Lu Feng ate the noodles in big mouthfuls. The hot noodles entered his stomach. People are in a lot of spirit. When he was full, Lu Feng watched people coming and going outside, some smoking, some sitting on luggage with their heads lowered, and some asking questions to find an exit. This world is sometimes real and so illusory. "Will they trouble you?" Bai Mai Hua suddenly became worried and said, "I heard from my relatives that the thieves on the train are all gangs, and they even smuggled them." "It's all right, I feel like I've already provoked half of the thieves in Dongguan. I'm not afraid of biting if there are too many lice," Lu Feng said indifferently. "What?" Bai Mai Hua was a little dumbfounded. Lu Feng originally wanted to give her some money, let her find a hotel to stay temporarily, and then buy a ticket to go home. Later, he thought that the train station is the base of these thieves. She is a little girl who stays here. She is definitely a sheep. Wolf Den, help people to the end. After waiting for 10 minutes after the meal, Lu Feng saw someone standing at the exit with a sign that said Mr. Lu of Jiafeng Electronics. "Let's go," Lu Feng stood up and said. "Go, where are you going?" Lu Feng patted the young man on the shoulder and said, "What time will you pick me up?" The young man turned his head and saw Lu Feng, stunned for a moment, and said, "I waited for more than an hour at 4 in the middle of the night. I was so sleepy that I went back to the car and slept for a while. I'm sorry, Mr. Lu." Seeing his sleepy look, Lu Feng waved his hand and said, "Forget it, let's go to the hotel first." When she got into the car, Bai Mai Hua looked a little cramped sitting there. She knew that Lu Feng was not an ordinary person, and she could tell from his clothes, but she felt that he was more powerful than she thought. Now Dongguan is at the time of expansion. It was merged into several counties and districts 2 years ago, and it was promoted to a prefecture-level city. It has enjoyed policy benefits and began to operate crazy debts. In the first 2 years, in addition to attracting investment, it mainly expanded and repaired roads. Access to more railway lines, the new railway station is about to be completed. Walking from the train station to the city center, you can see the construction site along the way, and various infrastructure constructions are in full swing. Lu Feng looked at the wild land outside the car window. If he remembered correctly, after more than 20 years, there will be an inch of land and a lot of money here, and various central squares will stand. "What's the name of the team leader?" Lu Feng asked. "The last name is Ye, we all call him President Ye." "Do you know the agreed meeting time?" "With whom?" "It must be the leader of the city, what's up?" I still have to make an appointment to meet with the surname yet. Oh, I don't know that. Bai Maihua sat on the side and looked at Lu Feng cautiously, her whole body became more and more nervous. This peer who was not much older than herself was not simple, it made her feel intimidated, as if she was in charge of many people. Half an hour later, the car stopped downstairs in a hotel called Dingxing Hotel, and Lu Feng said to Bai Maihua, "Get off the car." The hotel is 20 stories high, which can only be regarded as medium in the Pearl River Delta region. Bai Maihua got out of the car and hugged her belongings. She looked at the surrounding high-rise buildings and the clean and tidy floor tiles on the ground. She seemed very nervous and at a loss. "Let's go, I'll arrange a room for you first," Lu Feng said to her. After entering the hotel, he left the rest to the driver. Lu Feng asked where Mr. Ye was, got on the elevator, and went straight to the 15th floor. There were 5 or 6 people sitting in the parlor on the 15th floor, drinking coffee and discussing matters. From time to time, they looked at their watches and said why President Lu hadn't arrived yet. Lu Feng knocked on the glass door, attracting everyone's attention. Mr. Lu, a man in his 30s, stood up, and the others also stood up in a hurry. The man said, "It's a smooth journey, when will you arrive? This little Zhao can't do anything, I should go down to meet him." "Stop talking nonsense." Lu Feng found a chair and sat down and asked, "When is the agreed time with the municipality?" 3 o'clock in the afternoon. "The conditions are all negotiated? Can you agree?" "They said so, but the leaders of the investment promotion office said that you have to come to talk about some things. We people don't want to say it, and we don't want to reveal more. We want you to come by name." "What's your name?" "My name is Ye Wuxian, President Lu." "Open a room for me, I'll take a bath and sleep first, and then I'll talk about it in the afternoon." Lu Feng stood up a little tired, and looked at Bai Maihua before he remembered that he had to make arrangements for her. "Give her a room too." "Mr. Lu, your room is ready, please come here." Someone led Lu Feng out of the living room. Ye Silent glanced at Bai Maihua and was a little dumbfounded. This girl had a rustic look on her body, and it was dirt to say it was ugly. She was carrying a cloth bag that she sewed by herself, and a woven bag with luggage inside. "Mr. Lu, didn't you say you came by yourself? This person is?" Ye Wuxian couldn't help asking. "I picked it up on the road." Ye Wuxian secretly admired in his heart, worthy of being President Lu, others are at most shameful, he picked them up. "Open a room for her and make arrangements." Lu Feng went back to his room to take a hot shower, his tiredness was completely released, he closed the curtains and lay on the bed. Before falling asleep, Lu Feng thought to himself, "I will take the hard seat on the green leather train in the future and I will be my grandson." The next second, the snoring started loudly. Bai Maihua entered the room and looked at the room with such facilities. The waiter told her for a long time and finally knew how to take a shower. Lying on the soft bed and looking at the surrounding environment, there was only one question left in her heart. Who is he? At 9 o'clock in the morning, there was smoke in a rental house, old leather jackets were sitting on a chair smoking a cigarette, and 2 men in their 40s sat beside them. "This trip is nearly half less." "Okay, my hands are hurt." Beard raised his gauze-wrapped hand and shouted. "That young man has to find out and be him, damn it, be unethical, step on my plate." "Young man? What does it look like?" "Crippled, draw one for him." The polio man grabbed a pen, his hands were indescribably dexterous, and he drew a simple outline of Lu Feng, but the perspective of the portrait was looking up, and the 2 big nostrils were the most noticeable. "Crippled, you are humming handicapped, not brain crippled, draw a frontal photo." "I'm 1.5 meters tall. This is the picture when I look at him." "You want me to draw a hammer?" Oops. Everyone present was speechless, holding their foreheads, and they thought that they were right, looking at Lu Feng from a disabled perspective, isn't it just looking up? If you can find out, There are many pictures, and report them up. There is also a girl in her 20s, a middle-aged couple of migrant workers, and the beard's hand was injured by the couple. Okay, I'll show the brothers on the other lines to find out the details first. If you don't want to go to this line first, don't start a confrontation, lest the police fishermen benefit from it. Everyone nodded in unison, feeling that they should rest for a few days. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 394. As the saying goes, chickens don't pee, and each has its own way. Today's rampant thieves are rare in the world, comparable to the speeding car snatch in some cities in the early 2000s. They each have their own sites, and they are also related to each other, and even formed a company. That cross-talk the thief company is not groundless. For a while, inquiries about Lu Feng's news began to increase. The municipal government held a meeting in the morning on attracting investment. At the meeting, Secretary He Jiali gave instructions to speed up the establishment of enterprises in the industrial park and attract outstanding enterprises nationwide. At the same time, we must increase our efforts in public security management to ensure the safety of production of enterprises, and to do a good job in supporting enterprise facilities. From now on, everything will be dominated by the economy. This is the latest guiding opinion, which will run through the work practice in the next few years, vigorously promote reform, deepen the service problems of grassroots organs, and serve the enterprise is to serve the people's livelihood. Comrades, this is Dongguan's last stand. We are not strong in the face of Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Shantou and other economic development zones. Dongguan was a county a few years ago and was promoted to a prefecture-level city by exception. A miracle comes. He Jiali glanced around the venue and said loudly, the development of local debt is the best way to develop. We borrowed 10 billion yuan, the province supported 10 billion yuan, and the National Special Fund gave 5 billion yuan to build the current industry. The park must let it release its dazzling brilliance, whoever blocks it will be the enemy of more than 1 million people in Dongguan. There was warm applause at the scene. In the fourth position sat a middle-aged man, a little refined, wearing a pair of golden glasses, clapping his hands lightly, and put it down without clapping twice. The person sitting next to him touched his elbows, hit him, as if to remind him of something. After the meeting, He Jiali called several vice mayors to the small conference room and asked, how is the discussion with GFN Electronics? This company is a bit interesting. I went to the province to study at a meeting last time, and I also talked about this enterprise. According to the agreement, Mr. Lu Feng, the chairman of GFN Electronics, will come this afternoon. A bald deputy mayor wondered, Secretary He, were the conditions given to GFN Electronics too high? A man from Shenzhen surnamed Lu, the deputy mayor, called to protest, saying that we were just digging. The company is so expensive now, whoever grabs it counts. He Jiali glanced at the folder in front of him and said, it's really a bit expensive, so let's cheat first. Cheated? Several people present looked at each other. It's not good to do so. He Jiali looked at a few people and said with a chuckle, when I was the CEO of a state-owned enterprise, I had a lot of contact with businessmen. These businessmen are very treacherous, and they do everything to cheat. This company is developing well, and people who rob more, let him disconnect from other cities for negotiation first, and talk about it slowly. Not giving those conditions is pure cheating, but it is not realistic to give them all. Outside the conference room, in the parking lot, a man wearing golden glasses stood beside the car smoking a cigarette. A man in his 50s walked over and said, Old Zhao, don't be so embarrassed, look up and don't look down. See you. I don't have the qualifications to be embarrassed. What am I? Zhao Qi snorted, full of resentment. Look at you, are you emotional? I'm not in the mood, and I don't dare to have it. Let He Jiali play by himself. I'll see how his industrial park of more than 30 billion ends up. Zhao Qi opened the door and got into the car. The man watched the car go away and sighed. When Lu Feng woke up, it was already 1:30 noon. He got out of bed and stretched out. He finally regained his energy. He went out to have a meal and called Ye Wuxian and his group to the conference room. This industrial park is not just a simple factory circle. They set up a district. According to the plan, there will be about 2 million people living in this district in the future, forming a district with factories, living and administration as the main body. Is the first phase of the project. Lu Feng flipped through the map. The brand new asphalt road and railway also passed through, making it very convenient for freight transportation. It shows that some important state-owned enterprises have already participated in the electric power, communication, and water supply. Can you agree to the conditions mentioned before? Lu Feng looked at the plan. Why did he not believe it? Ye silently pondered and said, their deputy mayor said yes, but only if you come and talk to you. Isn't it the same with anyone? To shoot your team is to represent the company. Why do you keep telling me to come? Lu Feng felt angry when he thought of the crimes he suffered on the way. Maybe they think it's sincere. Okay, come here, meet him for a while, prepare a suit for me, and get the car ready. Lu Feng stood up to go back to his room, suddenly thought of something, turned his head and asked, give that girl a meal. Are you done? Eat, at the restaurant in the hotel. Lu Feng didn't say a word, he just left. He doesn't have time now, so let's take this negotiation down first. Anyway, Bai Mai Hua doesn't know where to go, so I'll stay for a few more days. Bai Mai Hua was sitting on the sofa, and the program was playing on the TV. She didn't even bother to watch it. She was still thinking about the lunch at noon. She saw the price on the menu with her own eyes. A dish was more than 30 yuan, and she ate a dish, 2 bowls of rice. She has never eaten such a delicious food when she grew up, and until now she feels that the food hits her throat. For most of the day, the impact on her was too great. It was like Grandma Lu entered the Grand View Garden. Just let my parents stay here for a day. Bai Mai Hua looked around with anticipation. Compared with the dirty and messy bungalows in the village, this place was unstained on the first floor, and it showed nobility everywhere, like heaven. She wants to stay in the city, and she can't make much money teaching children in the village. The key is that the city is very charming and high-end. She looks at the tall buildings outside through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and secretly wonders if her cousin works in such a place. Which building is she in? At 2:30 in the afternoon, 2 autos drove into the municipality. Ye Wuxian got out of the car and opened the door. A shiny leather shoe first stepped on the ground, and then a handsome figure stepped out of the car. Welcome, Mr. Lu. I never thought that Mr. Lu was so young and handsome. A slightly sensual middle-aged man stepped forward with enthusiasm on his face. Hello, hello, Lu Feng reached out and shook it. My surname is Zhu. I am the city's deputy mayor in charge of commerce and the director of the investment promotion office. Zhu Li laughed. Nice to meet you. President Lu, please, secretary, he is already waiting. There were a lot of people around, who didn't know what they were doing. The gates were blocked. They walked in politely to each other. Zhu Li winked at his secretary, and the other party immediately ran upstairs. Going upstairs, knocking on the door of the lounge, he said to He Jiali, it's a young man, looking in his 20s, easy to deal with. He Jiali leaned on the sofa and did not open his eyes. He said that he knew Lu Feng well, and he did a lot of research. He even called Huang Youwei through his relationship. After more than 10 seconds, He Jiali opened his eyes and stepped out of the lounge. When he saw Lu Feng and the others just going upstairs, he walked over and said with a smile, Welcome President Lu. This is Secretary He. Hello, hello. Lu Feng held his hand and looked at his smiling eyes. His heart skipped a beat. He didn't feel like a good person. He Jiali stared into Lu Feng's eyes. He saw the treacherousness in these young eyes, the kind of treacherousness that has been precipitated by many things. It's not for this age. Intuition told him that it should not appear on Lu Feng, but the truth was in front of him. The two clasped their hands tightly for more than 20 seconds, and the person in charge of taking pictures beside them was tired of taking pictures, and the two just let go. Mr. Lu, please. After you. Entering the living room, a red carpet was laid out on the scene. There were 2 chairs in the front, a table in the middle, with flowers, fruits, etc. on it. There were 2 rows of chairs on both sides. Long. This kind of occasion is very formal, only 2 microphones are put on, it is simply a bilateral meeting. Lu Feng sat down, and the other party said first, Lu always came from Suzhou. Yes. It seems that there is no direct flight here. Lu always drives here? That's really hard work. I came by train, no matter what route, as long as you have the intention to cooperate, I will rush to arrive. I have read the content of the previous discussion, although it did not meet my expectations, but I think Dongguan is a city with a long history. The city of the future, so I decided to grow up with it, Lu Feng said officially. He Jiali watched such a hypocritical scene of him, and secretly said in his heart, what grows with it is to give enough money, and give more, not to mention taking the green train. I am afraid that it will rush with the green train. Coming. He Jiali nodded and seemed to agree with Lu Feng's words, saying, Dongguan is a city with a profound history. Since Mr. Lu firmly believes that there is development and a future, I think that aside from those conditions, GFN Electronics is still I will come here and grow together with this land. Those policies and funds are all to help the company. Mr. Lu believes that being able to come here is very good for development, and those things are nothing. Lu Feng turned his head sharply and stared at him. He really didn't expect the other party to be such a big man. He would be more shameless than himself to say such things on this occasion. Everyone present was stunned. It stands to reason that on this occasion, everyone made a statement, and the real exchange was at the dinner tonight. He Jiali laughed and said, just kidding, Mr. Lu is young, but he has learned to be honest and doesn't understand humor. I heard that you have a good relationship with Huang Youwei. He has done a very good job in helping enterprises, and GFN Electronics is the one who contributed to it. This is also a win-win situation between private enterprises and local municipal governments. Lu Feng explained his relationship with Huang Youwei in an official manner. How did I hear that it was a collusion between officials and businessmen? He Jiali said with a smile. As soon as the statement came out, the whole audience was shocked, and the deputy mayors over there were shocked. Do you know what you are talking about? Lu Feng stared at him blankly, not knowing what he wanted to do. He Jiali talked his head over and said in a low voice, I want to be Huang Youwei, I need a win-win situation. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 395. Lu Feng looked at him with some doubts and didn't answer. He glanced around, thinking to himself that the local political and business environment might not be so harmonious. Lu Feng could think of cooperating with Huang Youwei, but it was nothing but the Copper Industry Association, but the matter of the Copper Industry Association is really not just his way. Huang Youwei just wanted to make the copper industry make a soft landing. If you really want to mess with him, you can just ask someone to check it out. You must understand that Huang Youwei is like a local emperor in the city, and the same is true for this He Jiali. Helping the development of enterprises is the direction of the local municipal government. With strong support, GFN Electronics has also achieved great results, making progress together, and the enterprises feeding back to the society. It is a win-win situation. Right, Lu Feng asked. Just kidding, you are a young man, but you have learned to go online. We welcome big companies to settle in. He Jiali pondered with Erlang's legs crossed, and looked at Lu Feng, feeling that he was in this situation. Some couldn't let go and said, let's hold a simple meeting here, let's chat in the reception room. Lu Feng stood up and shook hands with everyone. When he got to the reception room, there were quite a few people. After He Jiali sat down, he let the others out. There were only 2 people in the whole reception room. Drink water. Thank you, Secretary He. The Industrial Park project is a big project, with a total investment of nearly 40 billion yuan, and all railways and highways are open. We plan to build it into an industrial zone. The initial plan is 50 square kilometers, and the first phase of the project is 15,000 yuan. Mu, the largest factory is several thousand mu, and basically moved in with a bag. I have heard all the conditions and requirements I mentioned before. We can meet them. We just want to know how long it will take for the promised policies and money to arrive. Lu Feng asked straight to the point. It depends on when you settled in. I'm a good talker. That's really great. Now the hardening of the factory area is completed. According to the design requirements of the production plant, it should be completed before the end of the year. Next year, the foreign machines will be able to return. When the spring flowers bloom next year, it will be a good time to cut the ribbon, Lu Feng said happily. But, tisk tisk tisk. He Jiali smacked his mouth, looking a little difficult. Is there any difficulty, you say? The factory you are interested in, there are others who are interested in it. There is a bit of power here. Let me tell you, I was transferred here from a state-owned enterprise last year. In the past, this was a county. The industrial structure in the county was simple, and the relationship between personnel was simple. It could not do the same as the city, and the relationship was more complicated. Lu Feng pondered for a moment what he said. Why does it feel like he is saying that the factory is divided into households, but considering what he said when he was transferred here a year ago, it doesn't sound right. Then I can change the factory, as long as there are no problems with water, electricity, and transportation, Lu Feng said. He Jiao cleared his throat, changed his posture, lit a cigarette and said, I heard Huang Yowei say that if you are a political person, you will be very prosperous. Why do you feel that you don't have this understanding now, young man? Lu Feng stopped talking, and the scene fell into a brief silence. From what he said, it was easy to hear that there were very difficult things that Lu Feng needed to do on his behalf, and this factory area was the condition for the agency. To tell the truth, Jiafeng R/U0026D company is located in Shenzhen, and its future headquarters will also tend to be Shenzhen. The enterprises there are concentrated, and it is very convenient for industrial support, financing, and communication. It doesn't prevent you from putting your headquarters in Shenzhen. Our traffic here is basically connected. He Jiali took a cigarette and said, I know you are short of money, and I have read a letter you wrote to the electronics industry. Understand the operating conditions. So what? The biggest factory area, you are determined to win, right? He Jiali laughed, a bit treacherous. Which company is robbing that factory? Lu Feng asked, at least letting himself know who to fight with. Wangshan Parts, a local company that makes motorcycle parts, is not a big company, with only more than 1,000 people. The owner is K-Bing, and it has restaurants, hotels, and so on. A company with more than 1,000 people, a factory area with several thousand acres of land, Lu Feng frowned. This relationship is not something ordinary people can have. Don't you think it's not that difficult? Just tell me directly, what is the Longtan Tiger's Den? Lu Feng twisted the cigarette butt into the ashtray and said, I think I can do it, so I will do it. No one can get along with money, not to mention the conditions you gave are very special. It is good. Young people, Don't be afraid, it's just a small business. It has been operating locally for many years. I can't squeeze out the original hero as soon as I come up. The reputation is not good. I will find you a rope leader and you will pull him out. You occupy it, isn't it justifiable? Holding a rope? Lu Feng looked at him like that. The end of the rope didn't look like a dog. He was afraid that a tiger would be pulled out and he would be finished. I'll think about it again, Lu Feng pondered. I don't have the final say in the company. I need to discuss it with the executives. This matter is related to the future development of the company. Yes, we welcome GFN Electronics at any time. He Jiali stood up and shook hands. The two sides greeted Lu Feng for a while and sent Lu Feng out the door. He Jiali sent Lu Feng back to the office. A man walked in and said, "The photos are all taken, can you post them?" He's not very happy. This kid is a ghost. He rushes forward when he sees money, and backs up when he sees danger. He Jiali sat in the seat with a dissatisfied expression. There are many people who are willing to be pawns. It's really impossible to change a family, right? No, he has experience. This person has seen the world and is a person who does things. In this situation, ordinary people will definitely piss their pants when they see it. They have to give him some sweetness, push him inside, and send a report. Right harshly. Just saying that the talks between the two parties were very pleasant, and GFN Electronics officially settled in. It's too mild. Let's just say that GFN Electronics has signed a contract with us, and Chairman Lu Feng announced that he will invest several $100 million in the new factory area, and then introduce me, and say that I introduced some local companies, hoping to lead the way. The development of local enterprises, Lu Feng said, the local small enterprises are not interesting, just name those few. Isn't it, too? Get the beams down first, and keep the people behind. Okay, I'll do it. On the way back, Lu Feng communicated with Ye Wuxian, but he didn't talk about it with him before. All he talked about was good conditions, such as giving money, land, and policies. I've thought about this before, and I've asked many people from the municipality in private. All are good conditions. Although the local area lacks enterprises, it's not so lacking. Ye Wuxian was a little annoyed. This is not a lie. That's right, it's like getting a partner. The man first said how rich he was, and after coaxing the girl into his hands, he told the other party that he actually had no money. Lu Feng said blankly. Mr. Lu, you are right, there are many such men now. Yes, scumbag. Lu Feng leaned on his seat and stopped talking, thinking in his heart that there are a lot of things going on here. Sure enough, there is no free lunch in the world, unless it is cheated. When the car reached the downstairs of the hotel, Lu Feng opened the car door and got out of the car. After returning to the room, he immediately called Huang Youwei. What's the matter? Huang Youwei's voice came from the other end of the phone. Mr. Huang, I'm Lu Feng. What's the matter? He Jiali from Dongguan called you, Lu Feng asked. Yeah, they came through the province and wanted to know about the development of the company, but I wasn't happy at the time. You had an argument with me that day at the foreign-funded acquisition reception. I thought at the time, I couldn't keep you anyway, so I just treat it as a gift. Huang Youwei said casually. What's wrong? What did you say? I drank some wine. I was emotional at the time. Don't sell me. Lu Feng was speechless. I didn't say anything. It means that you are very short of money, and you are going crazy. Your development concept is that, technology, industry, and trade, and then talked about the recent troubles, and said regarding the matter of the Copper Industry Association, I also have something to hide in my heart and feel embarrassed. Good guy, I even said the color of the panties. The sale is really thorough. Lu Feng recounted what happened today, and Huang Youwei on the other end of the phone laughed out loud and said, if you go outside for a run, you will know that I am good to you, so you can set up another factory in Suzhou. If you pay, I'd be happy. Look at you, always mentioning money, doesn't it hurt your feelings? I don't want to deal with businessmen like you. Money is always in my mouth. Huan Yue was very impatient. Hello. You people, who have made achievements all day long, don't talk about money, say I love you. If I tell you that I love you, you will come back to open a factory, then I will tell you every day. Don't be disgusting with me, Mr. Huang, I was wrong, don't sell me, I thank you. I'm just being so nice to you that I make you mistakenly think that other municipalities are so good at talking. Taking care of you is like taking care of the flowers of the motherland. It's okay to go out for a while, that's it. Huan Yue was happy when he spoke. It's like treating Lu Feng as a son. After hanging up the phone, Huan Yue was in a good mood. Lu Feng went outside to inquire about the current situation. He made a promise to him and he might come back. Even if it wasn't Suzhou or other cities in the province, it could be counted in him. On the head. Sitting there, Lu Feng only had one thought in his mind. Go. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the weather was getting cooler, and there were few pedestrians on the road. It was cloudy tonight, and the world under the night was pitch black. Are you sure no one is there? The car didn't come back, hurry up. We'll issue this ticket as long as it's done. The work here is not easy. Let's go back when the time comes. Don't talk about that, just do the work. The window was pried open, a figure touched in, the other squatted under the window and looked around, a car drove over, the headlights were exceptionally bright, illuminating the face of the man under the window. It was the uncle on the train. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 396. The uncle was startled, and hurriedly squatted down and hid behind the green tree. Fortunately, the car just passed by, and then galloped away, and the surroundings fell into silence again. A few minutes later, the figure came out of the window, carrying 2 backpacks. How about it? It's estimated to be hundreds of thousands. So much. This kid really has dirty hands and feet. Don't worry, his money is not clean, he will definitely not dare to report the crime, and put his heart in his stomach. Damn it, if it wasn't for that kid on the train, he wouldn't have paid his attention. Don't blame the two of us. If you blame him, blame his niece for slipping up. Stop talking, this is not the place to talk, let's go. The two of them crossed the road with the cat on their waist and disappeared into the vast darkness. Only the camera installed on the Xiaoyang building was still sticking to their jobs. An hour later, a car stopped at the door of Xiaoyanglu. The co-pilot got off. A woman took out the keys from her pocket, and complained, "Are you in a mood for the meeting today?" "No, I let my anger out." "Let it go. The arm can't twist the thigh, it's not yours, don't be angry, it's fine now, it's been a year, the universe has been decided, wait for him to move away." The two opened the door while talking. The man didn't seem very happy. He said that the woman should be less in charge, and went upstairs. As soon as he went upstairs, he saw that the door of the safe was open. With a shout, the man rushed up and was looted inside. "What's the matter? You're in a state of calming your heart. There's a burglar in the house." "What?" The woman screamed and ran up, seeing that the safe was empty, and sitting on the bed was a little lost. "How much?" The man ignored it, just rummaging inside. "How much?" "More than 300,000. It's nothing, the ledger is lost." "What ledger? What are you talking about, the ledger? Go check the monitoring." The two of them were very annoyed when they watched the surveillance, it just happened more than an hour ago. "Don't call the police about this, it's over, you can save money and avoid disasters. These two must be found. Don't make trouble, My heart can't stand the trouble this year. Whether these two people are here to steal the ledger book or the money, I don't know. If they steal the money, they don't need to worry about it, in case. The man said with a gloomy expression, I'll call telephone. Hey, K Bing. Lu Feng called Zhang Xiaoyan, inquired about a lot of the situation, and talked about the factory. The operation was not bad, and she made tens of thousands of dollars recently, and she was very happy. Zhang Xiaoyan's parents called and hoped that she could go back to her mother-in-law's house for the Chinese New Year this year. Zhang Xiaoyan asked Lu Feng what he meant. Lu Feng didn't want to go, and he didn't even want to go home. He always felt that the New Year was just over, and the New Year was coming, so he put the matter on hold for now. After chatting about things at home and hanging up, Lu Feng called Zhang Fengxia again to keep in touch with the team in Shenzhen. The situation here is not stable. What's the matter? I can't explain a word or two. It's a pit. I'll just do it for now. I'll go back in a day or two. Lu Feng asked about the operation of the new department and hung up the phone. Sitting on the sofa, I was a little dazed. I ran over in a hurry. After getting such a result, I was speechless. Suddenly I remembered that I had picked up someone on the road, and I had to go back myself. If I gave some money to send the white plum blossoms back, I would be able to help to the end. Out of the house, I knocked on Yes Silent's door. The door opened. Yes Silent asked, Mr. Lu, you haven't rested yet, what's the matter? It's that girl, where is it arranged? The other party hurriedly said with a sudden realization, in the room next to you. I didn't go out much today. Understood. Lu Feng arrived at the door and knocked on the door. Bai Maihua's voice came from inside, and he seemed a little nervous. Who? It's me, Lu Feng, can you open the door easily? When the door opened, she was still wearing her original clothes. Seeing that Lu Feng was a little cautious, she said, come in. It's so late, haven't you slept yet? Lu Feng asked, seeing her woven bag on the side of the TV cabinet. Have you eaten tonight? Ate. That's it, I was originally doing some errands. I stayed here for a few days, thinking about arranging for you after finishing the errands. I promised you to get your wallet back, but I didn't find it. It's my responsibility. As a result, something happened to me, and I will be leaving in a day or two. As for me, I'll give you some money and buy a sleeper ticket for you to go back. Lu Feng looked at her and said, aren't you going back? I went directly to Shenzhen. That. Then it's settled. Lu Feng stared at her and said, see you tomorrow, rest early, good night. Standing at the door of his room, Lu Feng heard the phone ringing inside, and hurriedly opened the door and went in to answer it. Hey, who is it? Mr. Lu, what's the matter? Isn't the conversation going well over there? Lu Quan's voice came from the other end of the phone. Lu Quan. Hello, Deputy Mayor Lu, it's so late, you haven't slept yet. Lu Feng sat down with a smile on his face. No, you can't handle this matter, and I'm worried too. As soon as the team over there called me, I immediately asked for your phone number. It's the same sentence. Come here, you are from Shenzhen. Okay, don't worry. What's going on over there? I couldn't make it clear on the phone. Let's meet and chat if you have the chance. I might go to Shenzhen in the next 2 days. When will we arrange a meeting? Lu Feng tentatively asked. Okay, you can make an appointment with my secretary 1 day in advance, and I will give you time. Thank you so much. After a polite meal, he hung up the phone, and Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he didn't directly reject it, otherwise, the matter of the branch would not have been resolved years ago. It was already 12 o'clock in the evening, and Lu Feng yawned and walked into the bedroom tiredly. However, the world is not peaceful. The photos of the couple on the train were developed and distributed to people on the road. Many people began to inquire about what happened on the road recently. Looking at the two people in the photo, I don't know each other, and I have never heard of it. This industry is divided into slices, and a certain area is a piece. The total number of thieves in this piece is fixed. Once you don't worship the peer, you will steal it, let alone the police. These thieves can't spare him. They understand the principle that there are more wolves and less meat. Stealing is too ruthless, and they will only destroy themselves ahead of time. Anything has to be done in moderation. Who is this? I haven't seen it before. We don't have this number of people in this film. They are all young people, not so old. What did this steal? In the temporary rental house, the dining table was filled with all kinds of fried vegetables and cooked meat. The 2 bottles of white wine had bottomed out. The old leather jackets and the beards were all flushed. Don't know what to say. The door was opened, and a middle-aged man walked in. Have you bought the peanuts? I bought it, but there is news on the road. These 2 are worth a lot of money, have you seen it? The middle-aged man rushed out of his pocket and took out a folded piece of paper, opened it and put it in front of them. What is it? It's worth a lot of money. Selling people. Why is it still human trafficking? I look. The old leather jacket reached out and took the paper, glanced at the person who was half sober, and said, "Isn't this the 2 people who stepped on the plates on the train?" Huh? On the train? That's right, it's them. Are you too sure? The middle-aged man asked. Sure, very sure, it's them, and a young man and a young woman. My hand was cut by him. Stop drinking, let's go. Where are you going? Go to Brother Huawei to get money, find these 2 people, 20,000 yuan. 20,000. When everyone present heard the amount of money, they all became serious, how much money they had to pay. But we don't even know where he is. Go ahead and talk about it. Everyone didn't care about drinking, they stood up and walked out the door one after another. Early the next morning, as the first newspaper was delivered to the newspaper, the headline on the front page was a row of large characters. GFN Electronics officially entered the city's industrial zone, and he Jiali personally received it. The newspapers that followed were basically the headlines of GFN Electronics, as if GFN Electronics had a good conversation with the local municipal government and easily won the largest factory in the next bidding. After a night of trouble, with the publication of the newspaper, they finally figured out where the young man was. That's right, it's him, shouted the old leather jacket, pointing to the newspaper. He? Are you sure? Very sure. This time, it's really out of control. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 397. On the 9th floor of the VIP hotel, a few people in old leather jackets were standing on the side. A middle-aged man sat on a large single-seat sofa with a wooden barrel at his feet, soaking his feet very comfortably. Standing next to him was a young man in his 20s, wearing a pair of rimless glasses, single eyelid, and a black tunic suit, giving him a sharp feeling. There was a newspaper on the armrest of the sofa, and a piece of paper was folded on it. The middle-aged man picked up the paper and asked, "Do you know these 2 people?" "No," the old leather jacket and the beard said in unison. "You know this person too?" the middle-aged man asked again. "I know, I'm in the same group with these 2, Mr. K, and a woman who stepped on our plate." "Plate? What do you mean? Does it mean the same thing as the basket in the Northeast?" K Bing asked curiously. "Basket?" The old leather jacket couldn't help but burst out laughing, and hurriedly held it back. "Mr. K, the plate refers to the site. They paid for it on the train. This plate and the basket you're talking about are swear words, Liang Zihui, a young man next to him, explained. Is that so? How can a boss take a green leather train, and it's still a hard seat? K Bing frowned and thought about it, then picked up the newspaper and read it carefully. Savor the doorways. This is not easy. Mr. K, this Lu Feng is so aggressive, he actually got involved in this matter, Liang Zihui said in a low voice. This online shop is too big, it's not under our control, I'll report it. K Bing looked at the old leather jackets and said, you guys stay here and do odd jobs at my place, and we'll be there when needed. Called you. Do odd jobs. The old leather coat and beard are a little foggy, but he is a craftsman. Didn't he say he gave 20,000 yuan, how could he be reduced to a laborer? Liang Zihui saw that the two were standing there motionless, and said coldly, why don't you thank Mr. K soon? Thank you, Mr. K. Go down. K Bing waved his hand. The two of them were very dissatisfied, but they didn't dare to say anything more. They went out of the door and whispered to the people next to them, didn't you give 20,000 yuan? Why did you come here to work? Give 20,000 yuan at a time, or stay here, and pay 5,000 yuan a month, you choose. How much? The old leather jacket widened his eyes. 5,000. We stay here. Report to the security department and follow me. The two quickly followed. A big brother was placed in front of K Bing and dialed a number. The man in the Xiaoyang building didn't sleep well all night. He sat there staring at the dark circles under his eyes. He grabbed the phone on the table as soon as it rang, and said urgently, how is it? I didn't find anyone, but I checked the details. These two people are under the hands of Jiafeng Electronics Lu Feng. Things were restored as they were, and the man's face became more and more ugly. This Lu Feng came well prepared. I didn't expect the city to be so deep and the layout was so large at such a young age. It has already started since he stepped on the train. I don't know how long the plan has been. Yeah, this kind of person is terrible. Look for those two people and turn the city over to find them. Once they fall into Lu Feng's hands, it will be too late. Also, tell Lu Feng that this is not over. Don't worry, I immediately contacted the people who were there to inquire about the whereabouts of these two people. After hanging up the phone, the man rubbed his face in pain, and the woman came over and asked, how's it going? This matter is a trap. I don't think Lu Feng is that simple. If the ledger falls into his hands, it is estimated that he will use this thing to make a deal with He Jiali. The man expressed his conjecture. The woman's face was full of shock. What kind of calculation this was? Everything was laid out from the moment she got on the train, and all developments were under his control. In this game, these so-called bigwigs are like mice. Let him need. So young, so scheming, so terrifying. If Lu Feng knew that they thought so much, he would be mad on the spot. What layout? What city government? I just couldn't buy a plane ticket, I just took a green train, how did it become a shocking layout? Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and the woman stood up and said, I'll open the door. The man got up and picked up the teacup on the table. He put it to his mouth and didn't drink it. The door opened, and a woman in a suit walked in. It was very formal. The hostess asked, hello, what's the matter? Hello, the woman in the suit said with a business-like look, I'm from the disciplinary committee. Snapped. The teacup in the man's hand fell to the ground and shattered, and he was sluggish in place. So fast? Is this too fast? Disciplinary committee. Yes, come and register how many children you have in your family, I hope you will cooperate. The man turned his head and asked, how many children are you responsible for registering? Yes, I am from the Family Planning Commission, referred to as the Planning Commission. Is there a problem? Abbreviation. The man laughed a bit savagely, took 2 steps forward, raised his hand, and called out, "Male Gobe, you humming scared me out of a heart attack, the Family Planning Commission, you still give me a short name. Stop fighting, stop fighting." Lu Feng woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning. He hadn't slept in for a while. The exhaustion on the train was finally eliminated today. After getting up and taking a shower, I was ready to say goodbye to Hejiali, so I went to Shenzhen. I was brushing my teeth when someone knocked on the door. I hurriedly rinsed my mouth and asked, "Who is it?" "Mr. Lu, it's me, Ye Wuxian." Something happened. Ye Wuxian outside the door was a little anxious. Something happened? Lu Feng opened the door and asked, "What's the matter?" "Mr. Lu, you are awake. This is today's local newspaper." He handed over a stack of newspapers. Lu Feng glanced at the title, his face completely darkened. "Too shameless. Who said it's settled?" "It's not a mess, it's like we settled here. Didn't you call the municipal government?" Lu Feng said to Yewu, "Call Hejiali." "I called, and his secretary picked it up. He said that the publicity department made a mistake and made a mistake. Now we are communicating, and the newspaper has stopped publishing." "I made a mistake? Made such a low-level mistake? Or, we have already prepared the manuscript before we came. No matter what the result is, we will send it directly." "This is to kill me." Lu Feng angrily put the newspaper directly smashed to the ground. He, a liar, met a rogue. A staff member ran over and said, "Someone called Mr. Lu." "Who is it?" Lu Feng asked. "Say it's a friend on the road." "What's on the road?" Lu Feng's head was full of question marks. What is this all about? Although he couldn't figure it out, he still said, "I'll answer the phone." When he got to the phone, Lu Feng picked up the phone and said, "I'm Lu Feng, who are you?" "It doesn't matter who I am. It's really a good idea for President Lu to be young. You should have arranged everything before you set off. I really admire such a layout ability." "Layout? What layout? I don't understand what you're talking about," Lu Feng said, puzzled. "Mr. Lu, you're a smart person, and I'm the fool. There's no need for a smart person like you to continue playing as a fool. Hand over your things and I'll keep you out of here safely, otherwise don't blame your brother polite." "Something? Did you make the wrong call? I'm Lu Feng from Jiafeng Electronics." "I don't understand what you're talking about." Lu Feng felt that the other party was playing tricks on him. "It seems that President Lu doesn't look down on me at all. Also, there is no need to say anything to me with your skills and the city government. I know I'm not worthy, but I'm the spokesperson for that person now, understand? Clear?" Lu Feng scolded angrily, "I understand you're a mother hummer. Remember what I said, it's easy to say anything when you take it out. If you can't take it out, don't blame me for being rude, you can try it." The other party threatened and hung up the phone. Everyone present looked at each other in confusion. Lu Feng was also confused, and asked a few people, "I slept all night, right? Didn't I sleep for a year? No, no, today is September 25th. Is it 92? Exactly." If they weren't sure that the day had not changed, and Lu Feng also looked in the mirror, it really had not changed, or else they really thought that they had crossed again. Why is everything wrong? The scene was silent for a few minutes, and intuition told Lu Feng that he couldn't leave. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng couldn't wait any longer. He made a few calls to Hejiali, all of which were answered by the secretary. He drove to the municipal office by himself. "Where's the others?" Lu Feng stood at the door of Hejiali's office and asked his secretary. "Mr. Lu? Why are you here?" "He's in a meeting, and he'll be here right away. You go to the reception room to sit for a while and drink some water. It's just that the people under your command are not smart enough to do things like this, so sit down quickly." "Not smart," Lu Feng snorted coldly and entered the reception room. He also knew that there was nothing to say to a secretary, so he asked Hijiali directly. A few minutes later, the door opened and Hijiali came over. He saw a smile on Lu Feng's face, stepped forward and grabbed Lu Feng's hand. Mistake, doesn't it just mean that it is some kind of fate? Fate, Lu Feng sat down and looked at him and said, you have sent brothers on the road to threaten me, how dare I go? On the road? Which road? What do you think? Call me and ask me to hand over my things, otherwise I won't be able to get out of here. Lu Feng's voice was a little angry, and he was already trying his best to restrain himself. It's impossible, it's absolutely impossible. Hijiali was also confused, sat down and asked, Mr. Lu, there's absolutely no such thing, have you offended people? What is my status to do such a thing? Lu Feng looked at him with sincerity, and he freely admitted that he printed the wrong newspaper. It doesn't look like he did it. I didn't offend anyone here, let alone someone on the road, and ask me to hand over things, name, and make the wrong call. Lu Feng wondered. Hijiali was overjoyed, don't worry about it, Lu Feng won't be able to leave this time. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 398. Hijiali frowned and looked worried for Lu Feng, but he was also curious as to who was calling Lu Feng. Didn't he say anything? I also asked, and he said I know it all. What do I know? Lu Feng looked at Hijiali and said, just this business environment. Don't, Mr. Lu, this is an individual incident, don't raise it to a regional judgment, where are there not many villains? Don't worry, let the police open a case and investigate. Just in time today, let's go to the industry. How about taking a look around the park? Hijiali suggested. Lu Feng waved his hand and said, forget it, it is impossible to carry out production activities in this environment. GFN Electronics is in a state of rapid development. Once the market is affected by production, I will lose more than the gains. Besides, you may not let me do it. What? I don't mean to settle down, just go and have a look. You are considered a number one person in the business world. You can help look at the design of the factory area in the industrial zone and make suggestions. You are now the leader. Don't dare. Don't dare, Lu Feng had already stood up. Mr. Lu, you are from the north, and I am from the north, my fellow villagers, I really don't want you to do anything, and you can't leave, things are not in a hurry at this moment, the cooperation thing is like a target, there must be the process of understanding, Hijiali said with a bitter expression. Lu Feng really couldn't refuse, such a big leader is a bit sullen, and he can't justify it if he doesn't give face. Walk around, I won't let you do anything, just go and have a look, I don't eat people. Hijiali put his arm around Lu Feng's shoulder, indescribably intimate, and pulled out the door. Cooperation is like making a partner, and there is another sentence Hijiali didn't say. Good girls are afraid of bad boys. After 11 o'clock, the car parked in the industrial area. Everything here is brand new, and there is a smell of fresh construction in the air. In front of it is a flat ground with hardened cement. The outer wall of the factory area not far away has been covered, but the inside is empty. That piece is the best factory area in the first phase, covering an area of more than 5,000 mu. The foundations below are all done. Building a building is very fast. We use a template method and a unified construction plan. Different companies come now, there are different needs that can be solved, except for chemical companies, Hijiali said. You don't want chemical companies. What we want is a business that drives employment. And the enterprises that drive a large number of jobs, you can see it over there. It is the second phase of the project. Going forward along this industrial avenue, it is the living area, which has not been built yet. Hijiali said, get in the car and drive around to have a look. Lu Feng wandered around for an hour and had a basic understanding of this model, that is, to help you do all the preliminary work, whether it is an electronics company, a food company, a clothing company, or an accessory company, it's actually the same. They all need a large factory building for production, office buildings, staff buildings, etc. They lay the foundation for all these hardware according to the template, and when a company comes to the construction team, they can make some adjustments according to the requirements of the company, and they can settle in within half a year. Efficiency. Very efficient. Compared to going to other cities, it is much faster to give you a piece of wasteland and work on your own. How is it? He Jiali asked. Why not build it all up? Lu Feng looked at everything around him. He knew that some places were built to attract companies, and then they were more attractive. He Jiali laughed, patted Lu Feng on the shoulder and said, "This is because you and I are in different positions and think differently. Do you know how many industrial parks, entrepreneurial parks, and industrial parks are built in the country?" Lu Feng shook his head and said, "I don't know. The data I have in my hand is 1,600 across the country." So much. Lu Feng was a little surprised to hear this number. How many companies have settled in? Many of them are submerged by weeds, and even some parks are tofu slag projects. The walls collapsed just after the construction was completed. I also know how to build a building, build a factory, and when the company comes, go inside. It can be produced by pulling equipment. How much does it cost? How much money do I have? I only have 390 billion. These brand new roads, those railways and water pipes pass through, right? The power station should be equipped with it. Just this little thing, I have almost drained my money. What if the company doesn't come? It's all my responsibility to do such a big job. I went to a lot of industrial parks to investigate before I got it. Half of it is better than the whole. Yes, just treat you as your own. The car was speeding. Lu Feng nodded, very understanding, but he Jiali just smiled when he said this kind of rhetoric. He might have said this kind of thing to many people. The factory area in the first phase of the project is indeed very good. If the conditions promised by He Jiali can be fulfilled, GFN Electronics can not only get a factory in vain, but also set out several hundred million. At 1:30 in the afternoon, I went to a restaurant. After the meal came, I brought a bottle of liquor. I don't know how to drink, Lu Feng hurriedly refused. Drink less, our relationship. I really don't drink it, Lu Feng simply refused. He Jiali waved his hand and let the wine be taken down. There were two people at the table, in addition to the person in charge of the industrial park, the secretary, and the person from the investment promotion office. The leaders of the industrial park were a little dumbfounded when they saw Lu Feng, and they quietly inquired in private, "Who is this person? Is it too arrogant?" I don't know how many people want to drink with He Jiali, but they don't drink. But he is better, he doesn't give any face, and he has no emotional intelligence at all. There is a saying that the big shop bullies the customer, and the customer bullies the shop. Lu Feng is now a customer who bullies the store. A medium-sized enterprise is here. How can it be so convenient? And a large factory with tens of thousands of employees is enough to make He Jiali's heart move. He Jiali didn't stop while eating, and kept talking about various advantages, blowing the hype, as if this place was a blessed place, and finally even the feng shui was brought out. I'll go back and think about it, and then discuss it with the executives. Lu Feng put down his chopsticks and said, "Thank you for your hospitality." When he left the hotel and was about to get into the car and go back, He Jiali held Lu Feng's hand and said, "Mr. Lu, I hope you think too much. I'll definitely find out about calling you and threatening you. As for Wang Kaiyan, the accessories company, it's not difficult, you just bid normally, and you can't compete with a small business." Small business? Which small enterprise dares to make an idea on such a large project? Although the enterprise is small, it is afraid that the appetite is not small. As you know, this is a merger of several counties. Some old local companies have paid taxes for many years and can't cross the river and demolish the bridge. We can't do it, so you just compete directly. Wrong. Yes, Lu Feng nodded. Don't leave in a hurry, just stay for a few more days when you come, and have a good talk. Lu Feng promised to get into the car again and again, but he was thinking, it is not suitable to stay here for a long time. When the car returned to the hotel, as soon as I went upstairs, I saw Bai Mai Hua wandering in the corridor, as if waiting for Lu Feng. What's wrong? Lu Feng stepped forward and asked. Didn't you say? Bai Mai Hua didn't say anything. Yesterday, she agreed to give her some money today to buy a ticket to go back, but she was embarrassed to ask for money so confidently. Oh, Lu Feng suddenly remembered, slapped his forehead and said, excuse me, how much money do you need? $50 is enough. I'll definitely give it back to you when I go back. You give me an address and I'll mail it to you. Bai Mai Hua pinched the corners of her clothes with both hands, and always felt uncomfortable asking for money. It's all right, Lu Feng took it out of his pocket and found that he didn't have any money with him, just as Ye Wuxian came over and asked, did you bring any money? Ye Wuxian hurriedly took out his wallet and said, how much? 50. No, only 100 yuan. Lu Feng took 100 yuan and handed it to her. 100 yuan, don't have to pay it back. Can I still buy a ticket now? If I can't buy today's ticket, I'll leave tomorrow. Your room has been renewing anyway. I'll go to the train station in a moment. Ye Wuxian was in a hurry and interrupted Bai Mai Hua's words, Mr. Lu, those people made a lot of calls today, and they were very ruthless. If you are not here, I will talk to them. If they don't tell me, they will talk to you. Don't ask who they are. Don't tell me, those people are here now, waiting at the water bar, Ye Wuxian said nervously, it doesn't look like a good person. They said, they will guard here today, if you don't hand over your things, dare to leave, just do it. Lu Feng's expression turned cold. Qianglong couldn't suppress the local snake. The key was that he didn't know how to offend a local snake. Go down and have a look, at least to make things clear. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he walked towards the elevator. On the 5th floor, in the water bar, Liang Zui sat there with Erlang's legs crossed, smoking a cigarette, and there were 5 or 6 young people sitting next to him. Sir, smoking is not allowed here. Roll. The waiter was so frightened that he turned his head and walked away. Lu Feng walked over and looked at these people. He was sure that he didn't know them and had never met them. Hello, Lu Feng introduced in front of Liang Zui, I am Lu Feng from Jiafeng Electronics. I heard you are looking for me. Liang Zui rubbed his eyes, and he clenched his fists with a murderous intent, and said, Liang Zui, they all call me Crown Prince. Prince Hui? In this place, Prince Hui, Lu Feng instantly thought of someone. I don't know what's bothering you, so I called me over and over again, and I have something to say. Lu Feng sat down. Take your things out, and I won't embarrass you. Something? What? At least you have to tell me, what is it? Lu Feng frowned. Mr. Lu is a good hand at a young age. What did you do? You don't know. Or did your subordinates do it behind your back? Liang Zui said solemnly. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 399. Lu Feng looked at Ye Wuxian next to him, he shook his head, and Prince Hui obviously didn't know Ye Wuxian. Don't play dumb, who is my subordinate, what is my name, what position, and what I do, please explain clearly, Lu Feng asked him. It seems that Lu never sheds tears when he sees the coffin. I wanted to give you a little face. After all, you are also famous. I'll mention it to you. On the train, Prince Hui said to Lu Feng, I'm still. What do you want me to say? On the train? Lu Feng looked at him and said, what happened on the train? Prince Hui smiled with a dull face. He thought it would be easy to talk to Lu Feng, but he didn't expect that the other party would refuse to admit it. Lu Zong is a young talent in the business world. I didn't expect that he would become the leader of the thief. For this game, you don't even want your face. Your subordinates took things that shouldn't be taken and returned them. He stared at Lu Feng sadly. The two thieves on the train? Lu Feng felt that he was a big injustice. I don't know those two people, and I almost became a victim. What does it have to do with me when they steal things? Besides, am I short of money? Lu Feng explained, the money they stole is even worth my money. A fraction is not enough. You can know this kind of thing with your brain. Who do you say has no brains? The 4 or 5 bastards sitting next to them slammed the table and all stood up. Crown Prince Hui sat on the sofa and stared at Lu Feng coldly, waved his hand to the younger brother next to him to signal them to sit down, and said, Mr. Lu, it's boring for you to play like this, dare to act like this. Mr. K is in your way. Son, you just look for Mr. K, why do you want to spread it to others? Especially those you can't afford to offend, why should you block the sword for others? Who? Lu Feng was puzzled, but the other party refused to break the word. After listening for a long time, he seemed to have something to do with Wan Kaiang accessories, and said, can you explain what you said? I didn't argue with Wan Kaiang accessories. The meaning of the venue, I will leave in 2 days. You can't go. Prince Hui's eyes sharpened, and his voice increased several decibels. If you don't hand over things, you have to die here. What the hell is that? Lu Feng got angry, isn't he playing tricks on him? The whole person was furious, kicked the table violently and shouted, are you kidding me? You said. What? You can't tell me today, I can't finish with you. Who is the thief? What are you doing? Are you doing something? Try it. 4 or 5 people stood up, roaring blue veins burst out, and landed on Feng with their fingers, as if they were about to start in the next second. The other people drinking juice in the water bar saw the situation and looked towards the side. The waiter wanted to come over and persuade them to keep their voices low, but the fire was so strong that they didn't dare to come over, and just stood there and hesitated. Prince Hui was dumbfounded by the question, and he didn't know what it was. President K just told him that this thing was very important, and he had to come back after his life. You know it yourself. I know. What about Nima? Do you really think Lao Tzu is easy to bully? Charge me with a trumped-up charge? Lao Tzu won't take your shit. I've said it all. I don't want to participate in the first phase of the industrial park. Go back and tell KC, Lu Feng shouted. What did your subordinates steal, you ask? You commanded it yourself, don't you know? Lu Feng, a dignified chairman of a company, is not respected wherever he goes. Now he is being held as a thief by the other party, and he is very annoyed. The title thief is a very insulting title. What's more, calling a billionaire a thief, or the kind that picks up money on the train, is simply ridiculous. Lu Feng felt a sigh of relief in his chest, and was extremely aggrieved. He had never suffered such grievances in his life, and grabbed Prince Hui's clothes. What? Let's do it here, right? The 4 or 5 younger brothers had already picked up the cups from the table, and Yewushan and the others hurriedly blocked them, and the two sides kept pushing and shoving. You said I was a thief. I asked you what you stole, but you couldn't tell me. Lu Feng gritted his teeth. Ask your subordinates. Mr. K said you stole it, Prince Hui said, staring at Lu Feng. K Bing said I stole, so I stole it, didn't I? I said all the I don't care about that factory, it's over. I didn't bully people like that, did I? I want to play, right? I'll play with you. Let K Bing wait for me. This time we are not only high and low, but also life and death, Anyway, if I leave, it will kill me, play slowly. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he threw Prince Hui on the sofa, strode towards the elevator. Ye Wuxian and the others hurriedly followed. Prince Hui straightened his clothes, stood up, and walked downstairs. Lu Feng basically figured out one thing now. The two thieves on the train stole something, and they had something to do with K Bing. They followed the clues and found him. I'm looking for He Jiali, Lu Feng called the secretariat. A few minutes later, He Jiali's voice came from the other end of the phone. Mr. Lu, is there any good news for me? The person who called and threatened me was K Bing. GFN Electronics can move in. The premise is that what you promised must be in place as we move in, and it cannot be delayed, Lu Feng said solemnly. That's for sure. As long as GFN Electronics can come, I'll absolutely count on my words. Those who threaten you, I will notify the police station to investigate. What is the specific reason? Lu Feng briefly explained the matter, and part of it was guessed by him. After speaking, both of them were stunned. Skillful. This is too coincidental, right? Specifically, did you steal or not? What did you steal? Let's talk about finding someone, what the two of them look like. You can describe it to the police and draw a portrait. Ro. Lu Feng hung up the phone and let out a long sigh. What is all this? After a while the phone rang, and Lu Feng picked it up and said, which one? Is it President Liu? I'm Deputy Mayor Liu's secretary. When will you arrive? I'll arrange to pick you up. I can't go anymore. Lu Feng was embarrassed. What's the matter? Didn't you agree last night? It's hard to say anything, I'm sorry. Lu Feng thought about it for a while, but don't talk too much. If he wakes up tomorrow and things change again, he feels that the current situation has a sense of magical reality. I'm not sure yet, I can't go there for the time being, please contact me again. Okay, welcome to GFN Electronics at any time. The other party hung up the phone. An hour later, several police officers drew two portraits according to Lu Feng's description. In the office, K Bing was a little irritable when he sat there. There was a knock on the door, and he said something in a low voice. The door opened, and a beautiful woman walked over, standing beside K Bing and said, why do you have a drooping face? You don't like me anymore. How was business last night? It's pretty good, that Liang Zihui has had 2 strokes. During this time, the income of the entertainment department is very high, and many men go here without taking a bath. That's good, didn't you say you have a sister coming? K Bing asked. Mr. K, you just miss my sister, don't give me a second look, and I can feel it. After you handed over the entertainment department to Liang Zihui, you hugged my sister in your arms, and you're going to kick me out of the house. The woman was wronged. K Bing glanced at her impatiently and said, I'm so annoying. Just as the woman was about to say something, there was a knock on the door again. Liang Zihui pushed it open and walked in, saying, Mr. K, I'm back. Get out. The woman snorted in dissatisfaction and stomped away. How about it? He didn't admit it, and instead asked me what I was. I couldn't tell. He said he didn't want to argue with us. He originally wanted to leave, but now he slandered him as a thief and wanted to stay and play. Liang Zihui explained everything one by one. K Bing's face deepened, he only focused on the result, that is, Lu Feng stayed. This young man is not simple, he actually can't see what the other party wants to do, and the way he does things is cloudy and foggy, but at the critical moment, his true purpose is revealed. Mr. K, what is it? Liang Zihui asked curiously. He is like a mirror in his heart. It seems that something has been in his hands. He has the confidence to play with us. This person is very thoughtful. He has told you so much, but he just wants to stay and find it for himself. Just an excuse. But he really doesn't seem to know anything. It seems that it's all about our side. I've been fooled by him, Liang Zhui wondered. This is his genius. He pretends to be confused. This kind of person is terrible. Liang Zhui couldn't understand what was so scary, and why it felt like Mr. K was just guessing. Continue to find those two people, and at the same time, we can't lose in the competition in the industrial park. We are determined to win. If this is done, it will cost tens of millions and hundreds of millions. Do you understand? Understood. I understand, Liang Zhui asked. What shall we do next? Lu Feng has obviously taken the initiative. I guess he wants to make a deal. If he wants to make a deal with the factory area, I can let him. Now they are sitting on the Diao Tai, and they are probably sneering in the hotel at the moment. Very much passive. How powerful is this Lu Feng? Liang Zhui didn't think so. He just felt that Lu Feng was stunned and hysterical. Why did Mr. K describe seeing him as two people? You can't deal with such a high IQ person. Let me get in touch and make an appointment at our hotel tomorrow night. Okay, I'll do it. As night fell and the lights in the city were first turned on, everyone's mind was different. Lu Feng sat in the room and didn't want to eat. He thought back to his mind that this time he came out. Looking at the prosperity outside the window, Mr. K was thinking about what to say when he saw Lu Feng tomorrow. With such a big layout and such subtlety, he was afraid that Lu Feng's appetite would be too great. Very tired, so he barely coped. He Jiali is busy approving documents. He is very happy. No matter what accident or coincidence, Lu Feng has already been involved in this whirlpool, although the way of getting involved is a bit strange. As long as you stand in a row with him, it will be fine manage. The man in the Xiaoanglu looked at the moon, still a little scared in his heart, suddenly burst into rage, kicked the table next to him with his feet, and cursed through gritted teeth. Family Planning Commission, mother, the abbreviation, let you say the abbreviation. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 400. Zhu Lidong looked at the night outside the window. He had been in Sichuan for 2 days. The financial funds had arrived, and the channels were spread out in an orderly manner. No one disturbed, and everything went very smoothly. GFN Electronics' external market expansion once again attracted the attention of many people. During this time, there was a lot of noise about Lu Feng's development model. 90% of people are not optimistic, and the more professional people feel, the more impossible it is. Compared with domestic electronic technology, patents, and foreign capital, it is like a big gap. To catch up, the capital needed is unimaginably huge, not to mention $1 billion GFN Electronics. It is impossible to double it tenfold. There are not many companies that think that GFN Electronics is a good model, and one of the small companies is Huawei. In the past 2 days, Zhu Lidong made a statement, saying that GFN Electronics' financial situation is very good. Before the end of the year, it will not only open up the sales channels in Sichuan, but also open up the channels in Guangzhou to prepare for the end of the year. Some reporters asked about GFN Electronics to build a factory in Dongguan. Zhu Lidong said that this is not his responsibility, and relevant news will be disclosed as soon as possible. I hope everyone can learn more and pay attention to GFN Electronics. The outside world believes that GFN Electronics is preparing for financing for this practice of frequently publishing financial status, market development status and future plan reports. Industry, finance, market, big company games, these are too far away from Bai Mai Hua, a girl who just came from the countryside. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening, and she still couldn't sleep. With the train tickets on the table, she sat on the comfortable sofa and looked around the room. The impact on her in just a few days was too great. Looking at the ticket on the table, she didn't want to leave. Everything here was so beautiful and nostalgic. When she came back, she inquired with the front desk. The house was 150 yuan a night, and what kind of suite was it? Very expensive. No one has ever returned to hell after seeing heaven. The dirty and messy countryside is hell for Baimawa. She sat there looking at the night view outside the window, her shy heart was stirring, and she kept telling herself in the bottom of her heart, "Stay, Lu Feng is very talkative, stay a few more days. Seeing how rich he looks, it's not bad, I'll tell him tomorrow." Bai Mai Hua made up her mind, picked up the ticket on the table, and shredded it. The next day, Lu Feng slept until the third day before he woke up. Just after waking up, he received a call from Lu Quan, who asked him what was going on. Lu Feng wanted to talk to him about this, but he didn't know where to start, so he could only sigh. After hanging up, Lu Feng called Zhu Lidong again and asked about the market situation. After chatting for almost an hour, he hung up the phone and called Wei Yandan again to ask her about the market follow-up of small household appliances. Bai Mai Hua had been standing outside Lu Feng's door and knocked on the door twice. Maybe the knock was too low, and Lu Feng didn't hear it. She stood at the door and paced back and forth. Ye Wuxian came over and saw Bai Mai Hua and asked, "What's wrong? Didn't you buy a ticket?" That. Is there no car to the train station? Tell me something, Mr. Lu is busy, I'll find a car for you to take to the station, Ye said silently. No, Bai Mai Hua waved her hands again and again in embarrassment, but she couldn't say that she thought this place was very good and wanted to stay for a few more days. Ye Wuxian looked at her like this, thinking that she wanted to say goodbye to President Lu. After all, a girl like her would definitely want to get in touch with a young talent like President Lu. It was normal to have thoughts in her heart, and he could understand it. Then say goodbye and leave, Ye Wuxian said and knocked on the door. "Mr. Lu, are you awake? Wake up, wait a minute." After finishing speaking, Lu Feng said to the phone, "In terms of small electrical appliances, we are relatively late in research and development, but late does not mean that we can't do it. Do a good job of coordination. You, set up a project team internally to be responsible for project follow-up, mainly for the market. Products, companies, and markets follow-up, analyze, and submit reports to the public, understand?" "Understood, President Lu," Wei Yandan replied. "Then let's do this first." Hang up. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hung up the phone, stood up and opened the door. "Mr. Lu, it's time to eat," Ye Wu said. Lu Feng nodded, stunned when he saw Bai Mai Hua, and asked, "Aren't you on the morning train? Didn't you leave?" I overslept," Bai Mai Hua stammered. "Is there a car going back this afternoon?" Lu Feng asked. "Let me see." Bai Mai Hua lowered her head and looked at her hands. Her hands were about to rub the corners of her clothes. A thought stuck in her mouth for a long time, and her voice was low like a child who did something wrong. "I'll go to the restaurant in a while, you go first," Lu Feng said to Ye Wu. Ye nodded silently and left. Lu Feng looked at the white plum blossom standing there. The clothes on his body were still so simple, and the pair of white shoes on his feet were clean. She had an innocent look on her body. In addition, her father was seriously ill and went out to work. Lu Feng had no resistance to this kind of girl. Just like Zhang Xiaoyan back then, he always wanted to help her. "Enter the room, sit down and talk," Lu Feng said. Bai Mai Hua stood motionless with her head lowered, her shoulders shrugged, and she kept sniffing. "What's wrong?" Lu Feng bent down and looked at her face. Tears the size of soybeans fell, and hurriedly said, "Why are you crying? Don't cry, don't be wronged, come in and say." Lu Feng pulled her arm into the room, sat down and said, "I didn't take good care of you, do you still think what's wrong with me? I've been busy these days, and I know you, a little girl, is going out for the first time, and I met you on the way. So many things are not easy, I was careless. No, I don't blame you, you are very, very good to me. Bai Mai Hua raised her head and cried. Then why are you crying? I'm afraid that you won't be able to earn money to treat your father. I want to stay. Lu Feng looked at her and sighed. What her cousin was doing, Lu Feng could figure it out with his toes. Such a simple girl couldn't just watch her go into a fire pit. If Lu Feng was helpless, he could only sigh that everyone in the world is suffering, but helping her now is a small effort for Lu Feng, and naturally moved his heart of compassion. Lu Feng thought she wanted to stay and work, and wanted to help him find a better job. Then stay, don't cry, life will get better, you have to remember, this world will treat kind and simple people kindly, laugh, girls who love to laugh will not be too bad luck. Lu Feng looked at her road. Bai Mai Hua heard that she could stay, raised her head and smiled, nodded, and said, thank you. You're welcome, the two of us are fate. How much does your father cost for the operation? More than 10,000. Well, I'll pay for you, don't look for your cousin, I'll free up my hand and find you a suitable job. You work here, you teach in the village, I'll find it for you locally a teacher's job. How much can a teacher here earn? Bai Mai Hua asked. Lu Feng really didn't know how much the current teachers could earn. He felt that it was no less than the part-time workers in the factory. He said, around $300. $300. A year is 3,600, which is a very good income. She teaches in the village, and she only has 111 a month, which is basically tripled. The white plum blossoms are smiling. Let's eat first, be happy. Lu Feng patted her on the shoulder and said, the world will treat simple and kind people with kindness. There were a lot of people in the restaurant, and there were a few women dressed in fancy dresses. Compared with them, the white plum blossoms looked so pale. She stared at the women intently with longing in her eyes. Ye Silent sat opposite and said, Mr. Lu, Prince Hui called today and asked us to meet with K Bing. Talk about what? That is to say, take a bath, soak your feet, sing karaoke, and nothing else. Don't go, Lu Feng directly refused and said, tell them, if I don't make it clear what I stole, I, the thief, have no face to see them. Is there any news from the police? Yes, a lot of people were arrested last night, but they were released again in the morning. The news over there was very chaotic. The first time I called us and said that people had already been arrested, it was those people who threatened us, and it ended up being a few hours. Later, I called and said that the evidence was insufficient, except for a few people who were detained on suspicion of fighting, everyone else was released. Then, I called again and said, I will definitely bring those people back and give us a good business environment. Is this brain sick? Hearing this situation, Lu Feng frowned. Lu Feng's face was a little ugly. If it wasn't for K Bing looking for trouble, he would have left immediately. There is only one situation in which the left and right hands are mutually betting, and there are two forces pulling back and forth. Night 2. What are you going to do? Go wash your feet, take a bubble bath, and sing karaoke, Lu Feng said solemnly. Bai Mai Hua listened with pricked ears and said, can I go? I also want to see the world. Don't go, the occasion is not suitable, Lu Feng said casually. Oh, Bai Mai Hua lowered her head to eat. Seeing that her mood was a little down, Lu Feng thought that he had been staying in the house for the past few days, and he said, go ahead, it doesn't cost you money anyway. Thank you, a look of joy appeared on Bai Mai Hua's face. After dinner, Lu Feng called He Jiali. He just wanted to know what was going on. Hello, Mr. Lu. It's me, K Bing invited me to play at his hotel. You are really calculating, and I became your pawn, Lu Feng said solemnly. Mr. Lu, don't say that. I'm also confused. You're not for anyone, You're for yourself. I guessed something and thought of a story about Tianji's horse racing. I don't want me to be that inferior horse. You do your own thing well, and I do mine well. No problem, cooperation is to perform their own duties, he jolly said with a smile. Then it's a pleasure to cooperate. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 402. K. Bing really couldn't find those two people. They seemed to have evaporated from the world. He attributed the reason why he couldn't be found to Lu Feng's hiding. Mr. Lu, it doesn't make any sense to say that. K. Bing threw the cigar in the ashtray, sat up straight, and said, either hand them over, or take out the ledger, or you will be responsible for the consequences. Prince Hui and the others took a step forward. The old leather jacket stared at Lu Feng with a fierce look. He wanted to clean him up on the train, but he didn't expect to have a chance to get off the train. Lu Feng felt that the temperature of the water in the wooden barrel was fading, looked at the situation and said, if Mr. K wants to do something, feel free to come. I'm ready to go to the tiger's mouth today, but I don't want to be called a thief. Fame, I want to understand the whole story, but I also hope you can understand that I'm not easy to mess with. Oh? You are a foreigner. On my side, you should not call the ground to be dead. When it is done tomorrow, you will call the police. Where's the evidence? What about the ledger? I'll say it one last time, there's no ledger. Lu Feng's voice was already a little annoyed. K. Bing stood up abruptly, picked up a bottle of red wine on the table and smashed it on the corner of the table. It shattered with a click, grabbed the mouth of the bottle, pointed at Lu Feng and shouted, I really think I'm a good talker, give you face now, isn't it? Tell you, if you don't take out the ledger, you'll have to be carried out tomorrow. It's up to you how I go out. I'm here to be a fish. You can cut it with your knife. I'll be the 15th when you're on the first day of the new year. Lu Feng stared at him and said. Prince Hui stepped forward to grab Lu Feng's clothes and was about to pull them. A few people in the old leather jackets also stepped forward. It was inevitable to drag them away. K. Bing had been driven crazy these days. He couldn't find the ledger for a day. 24 hours is not a good time. Before Lu Feng could be dragged away, the door was suddenly opened, and a second bastard rushed in, exhausted and out of breath, and said, Liang, Mr. Liang, the police are here to arrest him. What? Prince Hui let go of Lu Feng, turned around and asked, why arrest someone? You tell him we are. Everything that needs to be said has been said. When people say something, they have to be arrested today even if I come here. Those who were released in the morning were arrested again. Brothers are a little panicked. K. Bing looked at Lu Feng, he was sitting there firmly on the Diaotai, too steady, and there was no panic on his face, as if he knew what was going on in his chest, and what was happening now. In an instant, I felt that it was arranged by Lu Feng. He couldn't do it, but the people behind him could do it. Think again. He said just now, here is to be a fish and meat. K. Bing thought about it carefully, and always felt that he wanted to beat him himself, and he might be caught in the next second. He's fishing here. Lu Feng really didn't expect that even after arresting a few people, K. Bing's mental activities were so complicated. If he was really beaten, he wouldn't be able to run away. He jolly is going crazy now and wants to find fault with him. Isn't this hitting the gun? It's all right, cooperate with other people's work well, let's go, K. Bing ordered. Ah, the man didn't expect to get such an answer. What he thought was that Mr. K would send the person back the same way on a phone call, and he was a little confused. Mr. K, would you like to make a phone call? What about Nima's call? Get out. K. Bing scolded twice. In the past 2 days, he called and was scolded. He called people for this matter. Isn't this pure scolding? After the man withdrew, K Bing looked at Lu Feng and suddenly changed his face. With a smile on his face, he was extraordinarily amiable. He threw the broken wine bottle in his hand into the trash can and said, "Mr. Lu laughed." Seeing such a big change in him, Lu Feng was also a little puzzled, but he guessed it had something to do with the police coming. "Mr. K, I'll say it for the last time. I don't know those two people, and the account book is not with me. If you start with me, I'm afraid that the bamboo basket will be empty in the end." Lu Feng raised his foot, and the waiter gave he wiped his feet. "Understood, we are all friends, and we are familiar with each other once, and I can see that Lu is always a very good friend to deal with. Today, I am the host, let's sing one," K Bing said to Manager Bai beside him, "call someone in." Manager Bai stepped out on high heels, and walked in again after a while, followed by a dozen long-legged girls, standing in a row in front of him. Lu Feng didn't have the time to think about it at all. He couldn't get entangled in the account book too much, or he should ask more about the factory. He also felt that the matter was out of control. From the word account book, it was obvious that the matter was too much. Big. This is not a business confrontation at all, and Lu Feng doesn't want to swim in this muddy water. After clarifying it with K Bing today, let's find a chance to leave. A row of girls had already stood up and started to greet Lu Feng. "Good evening, boss, nice to meet you. I'm number 1, my name is Nana. I'm number 2, my name is Yaya. I'm number 3, and my name is Qian." The voices are sweeter and sweeter than the last, and the various whistling sounds make people imagine. In this situation, it was perfectly normal. Lu Feng didn't even raise his head, and K Bing sat on the side without looking at it, thinking about other things in his heart. "I'm number 9. I'm number 11, and my name is Wang Gang," a deep voice sounded. "Wang Gang?" Lu Feng raised his head to look at Wang Gang, and even President K raised his head, wanting to see why there were still men in his team. "Wang Gang, stay," Lu Feng said. K Bing greeted, "Stay here, accompany President Lu, find the microphone, and sing a song, that, Wang Gang, you sing first." Wang Gang took the microphone and said, A fire in winter is for my dear President Lu, I wish you forever young, the flame of youth will never go out, you are like that fire. Wang Gang is quite beautiful, but his voice is too thick, giving people a bit of a funny look. Lu Feng sat there listening to her singing, and the armrests on both sides were already full of girls. K Bing felt that it was too hard, and the other party didn't say anything about the conditions, so he was soft, and waved to Manager Bai. "Mr. K, what's wrong? What do you think about Mr. Lu?" K Bing stared at her and asked, "Do you like it?" "I'll always be Mr. K's person. The person who was born and died is your ghost." Manager Bai hurriedly expressed his loyalty. "Did I let you talk about this?" K Bing whispered, "Go and get closer to Lu Feng." "How close are you talking about?" "A lot of centimeters." Manager Bai blushed rarely, and was a little embarrassed. Looking at Mr. K, he understood what he meant, and said coquettishly, "But they want to be the manager of the entertainment department. It's a trivial matter when this is done." "Thank you, Mr. K." After the song "A Fire in Winter" was sung, there was applause at the scene. The wine on the table was opened and Lu Feng had already poured it. These women were professional in creating the atmosphere, and the scene was very lively. "Mr. Lu, sing one." "President Lu is so handsome, where are you from? Let's sing together." "Mr. Lu, let's dance, I stick to you, you stick to me." Lu Feng couldn't resist, these women were not very honest. Lu Feng stood up and said, "Don't surround me, go to accompany Mr. K more, he has money." "Mr. Lu, you can sing one." Manager Bai walked over and said, "I think Lu always sings so well, I'm afraid it will ruin our jobs. Come, come, have a drink, and let's raise a glass together." Everyone at the scene raised their glasses, and K Bing said with a smile, Mr. Lu, Manager Bai is a capable woman. You have to take good care of it. Capable woman? Lu Feng laughed, looked around and said, "Where's my Wang Gang?" "Mr. Lu, I'm here." A deep and rich voice sounded from the side and ran to Lu Feng's side. 3,000 weak water, just take one scoop. "Mr. Lu, the scoop is good, the scoop is wonderful, and the scoop is quack." There was another burst of laughter at the scene. K Bing suggested that he was bored, and everyone drank it. Several girls suggested to play some small games. Lu Feng sat opposite K Bing, looked at him and asked, "Development the #1 factory in the district, Mr. K is determined to win it." "It's not a sure thing. I want to put my parts factory there, but I don't plan to use it. A small factory with a few thousand people is fine. As for the #1 factory, I plan to occupy it and sell it," it is said bluntly. "It's not so easy to win such a big project, right? How hard is it?" "Mr. Lu, you know better than me, and you're still pretending to be with me here. Which big project isn't involved? I'm just taking a factory area. It's not worth a few dollars, it's just over 100 million. Otherwise, how can I do this business?" "It's a business," he said, lighting a cigar. "I'm interested in factory #1. I can give it to you and exchange it for what I want. I heard that the industrial park has also made a bid for the first phase of the project, and there are only 20 days left. What happened in these 20 days, the ghost knows." "That's fine, I won't argue with you. I'll go to Shenzhen to develop, and I don't want the #1 factory." "You can't go," K Bing said with a smile. "What can I do other than the ledger?" "He Jiali, if you do this, the account book will be meaningless if you don't." Lu Feng pondered for a while, and took a sip from the wine glass in front of him. For the rest of the time, he completely focused on entertainment. The atmosphere at the scene was very lively. Manager Bai always participated in it. Whether it was drinking or playing games, he stayed by Lu Feng's side, which made Wang Gang very unhappy. Because of her voice, she seldom goes to the clock. Today, she met someone with unique taste, and the deputy manager even grabbed it from her. How could she not be depressed? Manager Bai stood beside Lu Feng, slammed his body unsteadily towards Lu Feng, sat directly in his arms, his eyes blurred and said, "I'm sorry, but Mr. Lu, your chest is so strong, I don't even want to get up, intoxicating." "Can you get up? You don't know how heavy you are? It's numb to my legs, get out." Lu Feng was very straight and scolded. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list.